Hello and welcome to a new video. So today's video is going to be Yarndale. So this is my very first time going to Yarndale. I have no idea what to expect, but I have had a look of the list of vendors and there are quite a few. So I have looked through and I've highlighted exactly who I definitely want to see. Obviously I am going to go around everyone to have a little look. However, I won't be filming everyone because there are so many vendors. It will literally be like a 2-hour video if I filmed everyone. So I am going to be quite selective. I'm mainly going to be filming the yarn. So anyway, I've got a few hours until I get the train. My train is about midday and I get into Skipton about 4 o'clock. So that's plenty of knitting time, which is great. So enough waffling from me. Let's get on into the video. Okay, so I've just made it to Skipton. I'm now going to my Airbnb. Right, so I've arrived at my Airbnb. I've just been shown around by my host, Andrew. Yeah, it's literally a bedroom and a bathroom, but that's literally all I need. This is where I'm staying for the weekend. It's very near to everything, to be honest with you. So it only took me 10 minutes to walk here, which is great. And I am actually on the road that Yarndale is on. So it's about a 20-minute walk up the road. But I think what I'm going to be doing is walking to the train station and getting a shuttle bus in. Or if it is nice in the morning, you know, who knows, and I've got time, I'll take a trek. But yeah, since getting into Yorkshire, oh, the scenery is beautiful. Obviously in Norfolk, it's very flat. We don't have any of that. So yeah, I'm here. I'm going to get unpacked and just chill for a bit. And then later on, I'm meeting Ali and Suzanne for dinner. So I'm now back from a lovely meal with Ali and Suzanne. Had such a nice time. We did a little bit of knitting after dinner, and I didn't record anything. Just got carried away with chatting. Also forgot to mention, Ali gave me this little bundle of minis. So one of them is like the original that she dyed at the Lay Family Yarn HQ. So yeah, it's this one here. And then there's minis that she did dye that sort of didn't quite make the cut. They're just so cute, aren't they? Anyway, tomorrow is Yarndale, so I better get a good night's sleep ready for tomorrow. Good morning. So today is day one of Yarndale. So I've just made myself a cup of tea because I need caffeine in the morning. I'm sure most of you can relate to that. Anyway, I actually woke up quite early. I woke up and then I couldn't get back to sleep, so I thought I'll get up and get ready. So that's exactly what I did, and I'm ready quite a bit early than when the show starts. So yeah, I've got a few hours actually. I actually have a little bit of breakfast that I can have here because I got some pastries on the way. Yeah, so I'll have some of them. I'll do a little bit of knitting. Last night I was knitting on the flax pullover for my son, and I did actually finish the ball. So I did have another ball to attach, however I just stopped there. But yeah, I'm going to attach it this morning and then get that onto the next stage of just attaching a new ball. I'm really looking forward to today. I'm wondering if it's going to be quite daunting because Ali last night said there was like 200 odd vendors, which is crazy. I mean, I think East Anglia Yarn Festival when I went had 80 vendors, and you know, I needed the whole weekend to go around all of them and shop. So yeah, I am going to have to be quite selective of who I go and see. I do have a list of who I definitely want to see, but I do want to see many others as well. So I couldn't highlight them all, but the must see is who I highlighted. So yeah, I'm going to do a little bit of knitting. All set and ready to go for Yarndale. I've got my bag packed. I'm wearing my moonlit shawl, which is made with Ducky Darling's yarn in the colourway Illusion or Naked Illusion. It's the one with the grey background. So yeah, I'm ready to go and I'll take you along with me. Okay, so I'm here at the auction mart and the scenery behind me is beautiful. I don't know if you can see that. But yeah, I'm going to meet Ali and Suzanne and then we're going to go in.
are, your weekend ticket.
That is beautiful. I love this colour. That's really nice. What colour is that? Doris. It's beautiful.
So you only want to go into the centre of the shape. all the way around. And then when you're finishing, so when you get to the point where you're sort of finishing it, you put your guide finger right down to the bottom, and then you're not going to change the shape. You're just tucking in the fluff.
Oh, that is so. Oh my goodness, that is such a good tip.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
day 2 of Yarndale and I am wearing my Yarnivore t-shirt. So this t-shirt, for anyone who's wondering, it's from Stitches Tees. So yeah, I purchased this last week and it came just in time to wear for Yarndale. So I didn't actually purchase any yarn yesterday. So hopefully by wearing this t-shirt, it'll make me buy yarn. Anyway, yesterday was such a lovely day. It was very tiring. Yeah, I went round with Ali and Suzanne for a bit, and then we lost each other. Then I had arranged to meet up with Emma from Yarn and Glitter, and it was lovely meeting her. It was lovely chatting to her. Her and her mum are just so lovely. If you haven't checked out Emma, she has a YouTube channel, Yarn and Glitter. I'd highly recommend going over to check out her channel. She's got a really good podcast and she's really down to earth as well. So anyway, my bags are packed. I'm checking out of my Airbnb today and I will be checking in my bag at the Oxfam bag crash at Yarndale, because I'm not lugging around that bag. Let's face it. So the plan this morning is to walk down to the train station. That is where the shuttle bus picks up people to take to Yarndale. So because I've got my heavy bag, I won't be taking a walk through the park today. So yeah, I'm going to take you along with me for day 2. Okay, so it's the day after Yarndale. You might notice that this setup is a little bit different and the sound might be a bit different because I'm using my new camera. Anyway, enough of that. Yarndale has just been and gone and I had a fantastic time. This was my first time going and it was a bit overwhelming on the Saturday, I must admit. So on the Sunday it was a little bit quieter, which was good because that was my day of shopping. So I didn't actually buy any yarn on the Saturday. I know, who am I? It was just such a lovely weekend. I got to meet so many nice people and a lot of viewers from my channel. So thank you so much for coming up and saying hello. It was just lovely to put a name to a face. So yeah, you know who you are. So anyway, you're thinking, well, what did you buy? Well, so this was my haul. You're probably thinking, that's not a lot for you, Sam. So I was actually quite reserved with my purchases. I did go with a list and I kind of kept to that, but then I did buy a few things that weren't on the list. However, I didn't complete my list, so I do have that for next time I go to a yarn festival. But I do already have a lot of things in my stash, so I've got to use that first, haven't I? So anyway, let's get on into the haul. So one of my first purchases was this bag. So it says probably yarn, and this is exactly what I used to put yarn in. So yeah, I purchased this from Maggie and Me. So my very first purchase was from Blue Fern Yarns. So I'll show you these two colours. So you've got a dark sort of purple and a variegated one, and then a little mini for a pop of colour. So I purchased these for the mixed media shawl, which Shannon from Blue Fern Yarns actually designed. So it's a very newly released pattern and it combines crochet and knitting. So when I saw that, I just had to have a go at it. So the first yarn that I've got is Mulberry. It's on the classic sock base. So yeah, that is just a tonal, like a deep sort of purple colour, because I did have purple in mind for the mixed media shawl. And then to go with that, I purchased this one, which is called Witch Night. And again, that is on the classic sock base as well. And to go with these two skeins of yarn, I added a little pop of pink. So Shannon did pick out this colour because I said I wanted a pink to go with it. And yeah, this is exactly the pink I was looking for. I thought to go with these, that would add a really nice pop of colour. So that was my first purchase. And then I went along to Unseen Yarn, previously known as Floof Fibres. There was a specific colourway I was looking for, and that was called Laszlo. So it was like a mix of burgundies and teals, sort of like mixed together. And she had done a sample of a knitted hat, and I really liked it, and that's exactly what I was going to make with it. However, I went back the next day and they had none of that colourway in Aran weight. So I had a look at the other yarns that they had, and this is what I purchased. So this one here is Aran weight and it's in the colourway Raven. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm actually going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to use my Centro knitting machine to knit myself a beanie. And then whilst I was there, I saw another colourway which is very similar. This is on the DK base and it's a one-of-a-kind yarn. So I think the gentleman that was running the stall said that this may have been like the Raven colour because they're very similar, but I thought I could make like a crocheted cowl or something like that. So yeah, I'm happy with this purchase. So they were the two yarns that I purchased from Unseen Yarn. And then I went along to Black Elephant. And this is the colour that I purchased. So this was actually in the bargain bin. So I think, I want to say this is about £12. Yeah, and I just had to have it. Obviously, this was in the bargain bin because of these white bits here, but I'm literally only going to be using it probably for a crochet cowl or something like that. So this is on DK. And this is also labelled as one of a kind. So yeah, it's 100% superwash merino, and you get 230 meters on there. But I couldn't resist this lovely purple colour. So that was from Black Elephant. And then I went along to Rainbow Heirloom. Now, I'd never seen their yarn in person, but there was a particular colour that just, you know, just jumped out at me basically. So I purchased this one. Look at the colours. Aren't they lovely? So this is in the colourway Wicked Pacific, and it's on DK weight. So again, probably some sort of crochet neckwear. I'm going to have a lot of neckwear, aren't I? But yeah, look at this gorgeous colour. It's really, really nice. I'm not sure what colour she used in this, but it's just a lovely, rich teal, as you can see. So there's that one. And then I went along to the Little Grey Girl. Now, I was going to pick up 4 skeins of DK for the Nightlights shawl by Andrea Mowry. However, I thought to myself, this is going to be £80 for a shawl. Now, instead of just buying it as I would usually do, I kind of thought to myself, well, I'm already knitting a shawl at the moment, so don't I want to finish that before I buy more yarn for another one? So I actually put them back, but I passed her bargain bin and, well, I saw this one. Look how beautiful this colour is. This is labelled as Rare Gems, so obviously, you know, like one of a kind maybe. So I actually purchased this because of the blend of the yarn. This is on the Silky Yak DK base, and that is 60% superwash merino, 20% silk and 20% yak. Now, I love the feel of this. I love working with anything with yak and silk in it. It just feels so luxurious. And yeah, look at the colour. And because it's in DK weight, I can use it for neckwear. But no, I can actually pair this with something else in my stash, and then just make something striped with it. But I did buy it just because it looked nice, and it was only £15. So yeah, you can't go wrong there, can you? And then I visited Knotted by Nish. Yeah, we had a lovely chat. She's such a lovely person. And I did purchase another skein of this. So I have already got one of these in my stash. However, I was thinking of making a hat with one of them and then a cowl with the other. So I've got like a matching pair. So yeah, this is in the colourway Cavern. So this is super chunky yarn, 150 grams, and you get about 90 meters. So yeah, look at those colours. I love Nish's colours, and talking of someone who loves Nish's colours, Emma here on YouTube under Yarn and Glitter, she buys a lot of her yarn. So if you haven't checked her out already, do go over to her channel, Yarn and Glitter. You will find many hauls of this type of yarn. So that's another one of my purchases and plans with it. So I wanted to show you something else. It's not a purchase, but like a gift. So I went along to this company, Yellow Door Yarns. They've also got this one here, 3D Print Lab. So it's a husband and wife team. She dyes the yarn and he does 3D printing. And I was gifted this little guy. So it's a 3D printed Christmas tree with legs. It's very cute, and that'll sit happily like on my windowsill around Christmas time. So they were all my yarn purchases. Now to go on to like the little notions and things like that. So the first thing I got was this cute little stitch marker. I got this from Super Effective Fibres. So the lovely Carl and his husband were running the stall, and I saw this and I had to have it. It was only like £2, I want to say. So yeah, that'll quite happily sit in my stitch marker stash. And then I went along to this company, Tile Productions. Now, I purchased myself this. Isn't that cute? I mean, to me, that gives Tim Burton vibes, and I love anything Tim Burton. Yeah, I just had to have that, and that'll quite happily sit on my Christmas tree. I did buy something else, but I'm not showing it on here because that is a gift for someone. And then from the same company, Emma from Yarn and Glitter, she bought this as a little gift for me. That is so cute, and that, again, that'll quite happily sit on my Christmas tree. Isn't that sweet? So thank you so much, Emma. Like, I loved that when I opened it. So they were from Tile Productions, and then I went to Unwrapped Yarn and I purchased this cute little stitch marker. So it's basically a jumper stitch marker, well, for knitting needles, because, you know, it's got the round loop to it. But yeah, it's a very autumnal little jumper. I did actually see this on her Instagram, and yeah, I just had to have it. Look at that. Yeah, it's lovely. So I did purchase something else from Unwrapped Yarn, but again, that is a gift, so I'm not showing that on here. And then my next purchase was from Folkestone Harbour Yarn, and I purchased these stitch markers. So anyone who knows me knows I love leopard print, and oh, look at those. So you get a set of 4 stitch markers on there, and yeah, they're basically pink acrylic leopard print stitch markers. Yeah, look at those. I just had to have them. But that's not it. I also purchased this. It's basically a needle gauge. So it's got loads of different holes in there with the different sizes of needles. It's pink acrylic leopard print. So yeah, I purchased both of these from Folkestone Harbour Yarn. It was quite difficult because she had a blue version as well. But I quite fancied the pink, to be honest. So yeah, they were my purchases from Folkestone Harbour Yarn. And then my last purchase was from Lorette Crafts UK. So I've got this with a raffle number on the back, and it has this little stitch marker on it. So that's so cute. It says Yarndale 2025 on a sheep. So this was just gifted to me. But then what I purchased were these stitch markers. So as you can see, I've got a hedgehog. There's a little acorn, like a maple leaf, a little jumper, and then a pumpkin. So they're all wooden, I guess sort of like lasered. But yeah, I thought they made such a nice autumnal set of stitch markers, so I had to have them. And then on their stall, I did see these. So I'll get one out to show you. I'll get the larger one out. So look at that. If you don't know what it is, I will tell you. So you sit this inside a crocheted pumpkin, and then with these 2 holes, you basically sew it in place. So you've got like a wooden stalk for your crochet pumpkins. I think there's a free crochet pumpkin pattern with this, but I've already written my own pattern, so I'll probably use that. But yeah, I just thought they would just add a little bit extra. And I've got 2 of these sizes, so that's the large. And then you've got various other sizes in here as well. So yeah, I saw them and I just had to have them because I have seen something similar on Etsy before, but they were just really expensive. But for the set, I paid £3.50, which was a lot cheaper than what I've seen on Etsy. So yeah, I purchased those. And then to go with that, I purchased some leaves. So they're wooden as well. And what I'm going to do with them is sew them onto a crochet pumpkin. These were also included as well. So there's a little bat, a little pumpkin, and a little ghosty. Isn't that cute? I'm not sure what these are for because they've not got any holes in to use as like buttons or anything, but they were just in this set with the leaves. But yeah, again, you get 3 different sizes. and you can just sew them onto crocheted pumpkins. So I just thought both of those would just add a little bit extra to the crochet pumpkins that I'm making. So that was everything in my haul. So you might be thinking that that's actually quite tame for me, which it is. I was very reserved and I didn't go crazy. I think mainly because I knew that I would have to lug it all back home. So I had to take the train back home, and because I didn't have the luxury of having a car, that may have been a bit different. One thing I forgot to mention is that when I was on the train going home, I did make a purchase on Stephen and Penelope's website. So I purchased 7 skeins of the tandem yarn in the colour mulberry, because I've chosen that to knit my husband a jumper. So I actually FaceTimed him when I was at Stephen and Penelope's stall, and I showed him the yarn colour, and he was like, yeah, great. So I wanted to see if they had enough skeins, and obviously they didn't. So they gave me a code which enabled me to get free shipping to the UK. So yeah, I went on there before midnight on Sunday and I made the purchase. So I don't know how long it's going to take to get here because it's coming from Amsterdam. So yeah, when it gets here, I'll put it in my stash ready for when I've finished either mine or my son's jumper, because I've got 2 jumpers on the go at the moment. I don't want another one, not until I've finished at least one. So anyway, that is the end of my video. Thank you so much for watching. And again, thank you for those who come up to me to say hello. There's just too many to name. I know I asked for all of your names when you come up to me, but I can't remember you all off the top of my head. I do apologise. But I did meet a couple of my viewers from Holland. So hello if you're watching. It was just lovely to meet you, and I hope you have a safe journey home. So if you did make it this far, leave me a comment down below with a sheep emoji, a yarn ball emoji, and comment down below if you went to Yarndale. If you did, who were your favourite vendors, like your favourite stall to look at? I personally can't choose because there were so many vendors. And if you haven't already, please consider liking and subscribing if you want to see more of this sort of content. And I will see you in my next video. Bye!